Welcome back, everyone, to my channel. I'm taking a brief hiatus, about 3 or 4 days, so I didn't really post any videos or anything. During that time, didn't make any videos, so I've been a bit lazy as far as getting material out on my channel. But I'm back, and I do have something very cool, I think, today. This is going to be a list of some psychedelic music from the 60s that I really enjoy. It's basically, there's really no order to it. I'm just going to name some songs and tell you a little bit about them. And yeah, so we're going to get started. Before we get started, I'd like to bring this little book out. This is called the Psychedelic Rock Files. I picked this up at a secondhand store and has a lot of great information in it about some of these bands that I'm about to mention, and more, some of the other bands as well. Now, I will preface this by saying that some of the songs that you will hear, you're not going to hear like White Rabbit or Tomorrow Never Knows or any of the more popular psychedelic songs of the 60s. Although I do love these types of songs, I'm concentrating more on the rare gems, the obscure sort of psychedelic material. Although some of these songs are by bands that are very popular, and some of them are by bands that are not very popular, but just the songs themselves are what I consider to be the obscure sort of rare gems of the psychedelic era. So without further ado, we're going to get started with my list. Like I said, it's in no order. So the first song is called Are You Gonna Be There by the Chocolate Watchband. It is sort of a raucous bit of snarky, rebellious garage rock mixed with flower power. The song just comes out. It's a very Rolling Stones feel, I think. But the Chocolate Watchband, by some people, were considered to be like an American sort of rip-off version of the Rolling Stones, although they had their own sound, I think. And I think they sounded really, really good. They were a really tight band, but they put out that garage gritty feel and mixed it with a little bit of sort of swirling psychedelia, and just a great track. Immediately grabs you right off the bat when you hear it. So it's Are You Gonna Be There at the Love-In by the Chocolate Watchband. I think next we'll talk about a band that was very popular in the psychedelic era. They were one of the pioneers of the psychedelic movement, but still a lot of people haven't heard of this band. They were from Texas, and their lead singer got in trouble with the law about drugs and went to a mental asylum and just whatever. But he came out and became sort of a solo artist. But they only had like 1 or 2 albums, but they were pretty big in their area at the time. And the band I'm talking about is the 13th Floor Elevators, and the song is off of their second album, and it's called I've Got Levitation. And this was just a blazing little track, just a punch-in-your-face psychedelia. I consider it one of the best elevator tracks, and when I say elevator, I don't mean elevator music, I mean 13th Floor Elevator track. One of the best that's ever released. The more popular Slip Inside This House or Miss You, to me, I Got Levitation is my favorite track by the 13th Floor Elevators. It's just, again, it's one of those that just takes off and just doesn't stop. It's a very interesting little band as well. They have what they call like an electric jug, and it made this weird sort of noise during a lot of the tracks, but it was sort of like the feature of this band. This was like, their thing or whatever. And so when you heard that, you knew it was the 13th Floor Elevators. So I've Got Levitation by the 13th Floor Elevators. The next band, again, is pretty well known in psych circles and in 70s and 80s rock. They're not as popular as the Stones or Led Zeppelin or anybody like that, but This band is pretty well known, and this is a little instrumental off of one of their albums. The band is called QUICKSILVER Messenger Service, and the song is called Maiden of the Cancer Moon. It's a very instrumental, atmospheric track, kind of underrated in my opinion. It's one of my favorites. It captures sort of a nostalgic feel for me. I don't know why. It takes me to places maybe that I've only been in my mind before, but it captures this certain feel every time I hear it, and it's very trippy, but it's heavy. It's a heavier rock instrumental, but it's one of those deals where QUICKSILVER Messenger Service went from the 60s into the 70s, and they became sort of more of a blues rock band in the 70s. But this song it's one of my favorite songs. It may be my favorite song by QUICKSILVER Messenger Service, but it's just an instrumental, very it's not really psychedelic. Well, it is psychedelic, otherwise it wouldn't be on this list, but it's just, there's something different about it, some sort of raw. It's almost like taking the 60s into the 70s, if that makes sense. But Maiden of the Cancer Moon by QUICKSILVER Messenger Service. The next band is not very popular. Few people have heard of them, but they had a really good album. There goes that camera again. They had a really good album that this song that I'm about to mention come off of. And let me just pull this up a little bit, because I forgot the name of that album. And this book, again, a great little resource for psychedelic music, will have the answer for me right quick. So let's just pull this up. It is present tense, made in 1968. And the song in question that I'm about to mention says the single features vocals and guitar work from Glenn Campbell, who is a country star, or became a country star later on. But the song question is My World Fell Down by Sagittarius. This song is reminiscent of something the Beach Boys would have played on Pet Sounds. Very pop, very psychedelic, spacey, sort of Baroque pop with classical influences. It's almost like a whimsical spring feel of a song, and it does sound a lot like the Beach Boys in certain sections of the song. But it's called My World Fell Down by Sagittarius. The next song that we'll talk about is this song is just sort of I consider it probably to be what I imagine California would sound like in the 1960s, if that makes sense. I imagine being in like Laurel Canyon or somewhere like that. And this one is by a band called the Orange Bicycle, and the song is called Last Cloud Home. And the sentimentality of this song reminds me of sort of the nostalgic themes that Syd Barrett would have explored in the 60s, only it sounds like Strawberry Alarm Clock doing it. So it's just very nostalgic, sort of a bit popish, but it has sort of a haunting quality to it as well, called Last Cloud Home by the Orange Bicycle. The next one that I want to talk about, it's sort of a dreamy, paisley pop tune. Again, brings back some nostalgic type feel in this one. Lots of trippy effects. This song I feel is very underrated. It's a psychedelic sort of soundscape. very progressive to me, with a lot of pop changes in it. It sounds like something the Beatles would have done off Sgt. Pepper, but in other areas it sounds like the Beach Boys, what they would have done, off Pet Sounds, or any of their psychedelic albums. But it's by the band Pink Floyd, which is a very popular band, obviously. But the song is called Seesaw by Pink Floyd. There's another track off the same album, the Saucer Full of Secrets album, called Remember a Day, written by Rick Wright, just like this song is. But I wanted to put this song because Remember a Day is a little bit more known and appreciated than Seesaw. Seesaw's not really appreciated as much, and so I wanted to show a little bit of love to this song. So Seesaw by Pink Floyd from Saucer Full of Secrets. The next song I want to talk about, let me get down to this. The next song I want to talk about is more of a, it's kind of a heavy garage rock sound from a very obscure band. You can't hardly find this album anywhere, and if you do, it's out of stock or it cost you a fortune. But it was a band from Kentucky, psychedelic band, and I don't know. I consider it to be American Southern fried psychedelic sound, I guess. But it's like this organ-drenched clavinet waltz type feel to it. Slow dance meets garage rock grittiness, The band is called Top Drawer, and the song is called Song of a Sinner. It's kind of a rebellious song, regret, rebellion, just everything in this song. It kind of fades in and out like a hallucination, and then, wow, at the end of it, really in the middle all the way to the end, blistering guitar work that is reminiscent of early David Gilmour, with a little bit of just that southern Allman Brothers sort of feel to it as well. So Song of a Sinner by Top Drawer. The next one I want to get into is a band that's, again, not very well known. I think they're from Boston, but I might be mistaken. But it's the band called the Ultimate Spinach. And they sound like a mixture of Country Joe and the Fish meets The Doors, or Jim Morrison at least. It's like this heavy garage rock drenched thick in psychedelia. The song is basically an advertisement for tripping on acid. Ultimate Spinach is like, it is. It's really like Country Joe and the Fish music, and then Jim Morrison walks out on stage and starts spewing his sort of cerebral poetry, and the vocalizations very, very much Jim Morrison. This is a very long song. It's about as long as Inagata Devita from Iron Butterfly. It's about 9 minutes long, I think, but it's like this epic psych jam. But it's called Mind Flowers by the Ultimate Spinach. Okay, I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. I don't think I failed to mention any of the song titles, but I might have. If I have, I'll go back over it again at the end of the video. The next one is called The Third Bardo, is the band, and the song is called Lose Your Mind. And they could easily pass for the twin of 13th Floor Elevators. They sound a lot like 13th Floor Elevators. Very raw, punkish garage rock, screeching vocals about psychedelic experiences, and but it's very catchy, it's very fun. To live back then and to experience that would have been so cool. But yeah, it's a very loud, just in your face psychedelic just rock song. And but it's from the third Bardo, not a very popular band, but a very good band. Lose Your Mind by the third Bardo. The next one is by a fairly popular band, very popular in psych circles, but fairly popular in mainstream. I think, Hollywood, they may have had a couple songs on Hollywood films. Incense and Peppermints, of course, was one of their hits, and I'm talking about the Strawberry Alarm Clock. Strawberry Alarm Clock is just a fantastic band. One of my favorite psychedelic bands. I mean, I could listen to any song by the Strawberry Alarm Clock and really enjoy it. But it's like this laid back flower power type stuff, very progressive. The song in question is called Small Package by Strawberry Alarm Clock. Beautiful melodies, as always, with Strawberry Alarm Clock. Lots of change ups, glorious harmonies, very, very good musicianship. Just this band is such a fun, wonderful, just fantastic bunch of musicians in this band. But Small Package by the Strawberry Alarm Clock. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get into a couple more. Let me just pull these up if you guys don't mind. Okay, Country Joe and the Fish had a song. Well, they've had plenty of songs, but they were a very popular band in psychedelic circles, also in hippie movement. They were at Woodstock. They're the bands that performed the Fish chant, "Give me an F, give me an I." What was the song? Fixing a die rag way down yonder in the Vietnam. Country Joe and the Fish. But they had a song off of an album, I think it was made in 69 and then released in 70, but it is probably the most haunting, one of the most haunting, trippiest songs I've ever heard. The song is addicting. I mean, it's almost like an addiction made into music, if that makes sense. It's like a drug itself or something. The lyrics seem innocent enough at first, but then it kind of, the bridge and chorus, and it sort of becomes almost horrific. To me, it sounds like the song is about a succubus. But I mean, the music, if it is, it's perfect for that sort of track. But the song in question is called "The Return of Sweet Lorraine" by Country Joe and the Fish. Now, they had a song prior, I think in 67, off of their more popular electric music album called Sweet Martha Lorraine, or something like that. I believe it's Sweet Martha Lorraine. And it was more of an upbeat song, but this one is this is very haunting, very laid back. Beautiful song. But yeah, The Return of Sweet Lorraine by Country Joe and the Fish. You gotta hear this one. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay, go on down, blah, blah, blah. There's a band called July, like the month. I think they went on to become a progressive rock band later. I think they went on to become like Jade Warrior or something. But that may be a different band I'm thinking of. Let me just make sure. Again, my little book here to give me some information. Yeah, July. And this is let's see. Yes, by 1968 they had evolved into the progressive rock band Jade Warrior. So, whatever. I love prog rock. Don't really care about that band. But now I really enjoyed their psychedelic stuff under the July moniker. Descending verses. This song is. It does sound like something off Sgt. Pepper. I mean, it just does. but it's called The Way by July. Descending verses, the sitar sounds in it, dreamlike atmosphere before it descends into like this sort of fluid like guitar rock jam. Very cool song, very progressive, so I could understand why they would get into progressive rock later. But then of course it goes back into this sort of trippy sitar with some bongo beat. Sounds like you're at a hippie love-in or something, but it's called The Way by July. Great little psych track. The whole album really is good. I mean, the whole July album is a really cool album. Really cool album cover as well. Very trippy stuff. But that's July. Let me see where else I want to go here. Let me see. Anyways, yeah, while I'm looking this other stuff up, this book is a really cool book. I mean, it really is. You very rarely see any like psychedelic rock books that really focus on like some of the more obscure stuff, and this really does. I'm trying to find my list here because I wrote some of this other stuff down as well. Let's see. Yeah, there's a certain track here that's really cool. Well, all of them are really good. I mean, all these tracks are very good stuff, but let me get to this just a minute. Yeah, okay. This band. This is a band called the Chameleon Church, and the song in question is called CAMILLIA is Changing. Sort of a play off the chameleon, I suppose. CAMILLIA is Changing by the Chameleon Church. This is probably one of the most beautiful songs I have ever heard in my life. I mean, not just psychedelic music. This is an incredible song. But what's really interesting about it, besides the song and the lyrics and just the overwhelmingly melodic music, is that Chevy Chase used to be part of this band. Yes, the comedian Chevy Chase, Saturday Night Live. This guy was in this band, and it really blew me away when I heard this, because you just got to hear this music that these guys have put together. It's just incredibly psychedelic whimsy at its best. This is just a wonderful little song. Camellia Changes, very ethereal. It's almost like you're drifting on clouds when you hear it. Dreamy little pop song, about a girl changing herself. And it is sort of like a play on their name, Chameleon. Chameleon. So, Camellia is Changing by the Chameleon Church. Okay, so let's get to... See, we've talked about that one. Let's see, where else are we at? Let's go with Shadows and Reflections by The Action. The Action is another one of these bands that sort of sound like garage, gritty, punk, early garage rock type stuff. But it's sort of also a form of what I would consider to be proto-prog psychedelic rock. Very, it's got some slow sections, but it's also sort of got some very upbeat sections as well in the song. I guess I consider it more of a sort of a breakbeat, sort of the mod era of the British psychedelia. It's very accessible, very catchy. It comes across just, I don't know. I mean, it comes across, it's a pop song, but it almost could have been made by the Turtles. I mean, just the way it comes across is just very upbeat, kind of a happier track. But yeah, and it's Shadows and Reflections by The Action. So let's see what else we have here. Already talked about those. Talked about those. Okay, so just a couple more here. There is a song, a band called The Fever Tree, and they got a song called San Francisco Girls. Not California Girls, San Francisco Girls. Lovely Baroque pop rock, excellent musicianship. But it's got this raw edge too, this garage punk raw edge as well. Very beautiful song, but also it starts out very slow and just dreamy, and then it just sort of kicks you in the face with this psychedelic just garage fuzz sound to it. Wonderful little song. But it's called San Francisco Girls by Fever Tree. And finally, we'll talk about, this is not least, but I've got to have one of them, the last one to talk about. This is by one of Britain's legends, the founder of Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett. This is off of one of his solo albums. This is pop rock at its finest. Not as psychedelic as some of the stuff he came up with on Piper at the Gates of Dawn, but still very quality track. This is probably one of my favorite, or if not my favorite, Syd Barrett song. He's got that weird way of singing and playing. Just it's him, but it's very high quality pop rock, kind of splashed with, I guess, some strange effects here and there, in the song and throughout, but a very excellent production on the song. It's called Gigolo Aunt by Syd Barrett. So those are a few of my favorite psychedelic little gems from the 1960s and early 70s. Again, I'm going to attach my playlist down at the bottom, so check it out. And until next time, I appreciate you guys watching the channel, and if you have any ideas, shoot them to me. If you like this video, thumbs it up, subscribe, share it, and until next time, you guys take care.